This is The Source on Texas Public Radio. I'm David Martin Davies. The current Trump administration and its allies are waging a coordinated disinformation campaign to end or even roll back progress and history of African Americans. That's according to a new study called the Blackout Report, produced by Onyx Impact, using the DEI, anti-DEI label. The campaign has a strategy to restrict Black access to political power, capital, and influence by erasing, distorting, and suppressing Black progress. And those in power are working to undermine Black agency to Black pathways to advancement. The scale and ramifications of this effort have not been fully exposed until now, until the release of this comprehensive report. The Blackout Report documents the first 8 months of this campaign and exposes just under 16,000 distinct impact points. This is not opinion. These are facts that are concrete and undeniable. Black businesses and entrepreneurs have been pushed out of jobs and contracts. Students are being taught incomplete history. Protections against discrimination are being slashed. Pathways to health and education and opportunity are being blocked. And to tell us more, we're joined by Cam Middlebrooks, the Deputy Director of Onyx Impact. And Cam, welcome to The Source.
Hey, thank you for having me, David. Really appreciate this opportunity.
This is an important story, and I'm really glad that this report exists. We've all heard bits and pieces of things that are happening, removing things from the Smithsonian, the anti-DEI activities. It's all a cumulative impact that's happening to African Americans, but to everyone in America is being impacted by this entire effort. Hurting small businesses that are owned by African Americans. So, what prompted Onyx Impact to launch the Blackout Report?
Well, thanks for that question, David. As you know, and your listeners know, for centuries, power, strength, and resilience of the Black community have been the bedrock of American innovation. And Black communities across America deserve to live in a nation where their history and their futures are not erased or stifled due to strategic or coordinated attempts, right? And today we have bad actors that have launched, as you mentioned, a full-scale disinformation campaign to gain illegitimate power and control by using DEI as a smokescreen. As we see the problem, Black history and Black futures are under a coordinated and multi-pronged attack that's sweeping. David, it's a deliberate strategy to erase, distort, and suppress truth, opportunity, and progress in America that's actively harming our communities. As we began to see a lot of the erasure happening at the beginning of the year, we felt it incumbent upon ourselves to collect this data, right? Because if we're not tracking what's being erased, there's no way that we can replace it. So that's what prompted us we wanted to understand what was being erased, what was being distorted, what was being suppressed. So we could show that to the American people, because when data is erased, it gets even more harder to advocate for the justices that we're all looking for.
Some people might say these things are happening, that's true, but there's no actual cohesive strategy by the Trump administration or any organization to actually do this with a strategic intent, that there is no real campaign. But if I go read something like the Project 2025, will I find that there is a campaign, that those things are in that report?
Correct. Yeah, you'll find that in Project 2025, but you'll also find it in the actions that the administration has done in these past in the first 9 months of the administration. Right. What we've looked at is Black history and excellence from the public. They're trying to remove Black history and excellence from the public memory, removing stories, physical items, achievements, and that document Black contributions and struggles to America. Right. The proof point is the amount of erasure, the amount of distortion, and the amount of suppression that they've already achieved in just 9 months of the administration.
We'll go to libraries. Books are being removed. People are saying, well, we're trying to get rid of pornography or whatever. They have that idea. Okay. They don't like the sexual content of some of these books, which are actually really good books. But also in that, they're also removing books by Black authors or books that talk about the Black experience. I mean, is that part of this campaign?
Yeah, that is. We were able to count at least 591 books banned from libraries, schools, and shelves by Black authors or about Black subject matters. And that's just one data set, one component. In total, we have about over 1,300 impact points where information was removed or erased. This inclusive of 723 digital erasures across 21 government websites from 9 different federal agencies, on top of the 591 books that were banned. In addition to that, you're looking at over just about 48 changes to museums, exhibits, and historical sites as well.
People who support MAGA, Trump's Make America Great Again campaign, said that these actions were necessary, these anti-DEI efforts, because they thought that they were discriminatory against white people. Can you address that?
Well, what they're doing is they're trying to rewrite, manipulate, and sanitize information, right? When you talk about DEI, I mean they're clearly using it as a smokescreen. We know that many more people than just the Black community have been successful through DEI efforts, right? You're talking about disabled veterans, right? You're talking about women entrepreneurs who take great advantage to some of these DEI efforts, right? When we hear DEI being pushed by the administration, it's simply a smokescreen to grab power and gain control. And that's something that we're attempting to combat by identifying all of these data points and data sets that show the erasure, the suppression, the distortion of reality.
This also enters directly into politics. We've seen that in Texas with the gerrymandering that happened here. The way that the new maps were drawn were specifically created in a way that hurt African American communities to prevent them from voting for politicians of their choice. We saw that a lot in Houston and in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Is that also something you're seeing, that this is not just about removing books from libraries, purging things from the Smithsonian, taking away grants and other things, but also African American political power?
Well, yeah, that's definitely occurring, across the nation. The examples that you mentioned. But a part of why that's even possible is when you remove the data, when you distort the truth, you're not giving people access to tools and resources that can help them advocate for themselves. And when you're talking about the gerrymandering and things of that nature that are occurring, again, it's another way to seize power from people that should have the power, right? We are a democracy, right? We should be focused on electing individuals that will support the efforts that we're all trying to achieve. But when you gerrymander and take away that opportunity, in addition to removing history from national websites, from schools, from libraries, it continues to take away from the power that folks are trying to achieve to better themselves and their communities.
I think we've all heard about the efforts to erase the history of the Tuskegee Airmen. What other historic deletions that are pretty alarming that the report uncovered?
Well, the first major one that we noticed is Jackie Robinson. We all know what he meant to the world of baseball and breaking that color barrier, but he was also a veteran as well.
Fort
And they
Hood.
removed his record from federal websites. So we're seeing things like that. We're seeing, for instance, when you get into health, sickle cell disease, about $37 million cut from sickle cell disease research, this is a disease that impacts and affects 90% of the people affected by that are Black Americans.
Yeah, and so it's not just like, wow, this is a coincidence that the things that they target happen to be the items, the historic deletions, all seem to be about African American history. How do they justify that? How do they say, well, we're correcting the historic record by removing this actual history?
Well, I don't think you can justify it, right? It's a clear loop that they're doing, right? They're erasing the record, they're distorting the evidence, and they're suppressing the dissenters, right? This is all about a power grab to further their agenda and not truly uplift all Americans.
So what criteria do you use at Onyx Impact to define an incident of harm that you track and document?
So we have a team of researchers. We first decided to focus on what was being erased from federal websites, primarily looking at data sets that are being removed or digital distortions, and then got into book bans. That eventually got us into about $3.4 billion in cuts that affect Black communities, businesses, and education.
And how does that end up harming the Black community by doing that?
Well, when you erase the record and you distort the evidence, right, you're taking away the tools or resources people could obtain to advocate for the issues that they're focused on.
And so by they're trying to erase Black history, we have to talk about Black history is American history. You can't have one without the other, really.
Right. I mean, that's so on point. Black history, Italian history, Native American history, it's all American history. We've all been a part of the progress of this nation. We've all struggled together. But when you don't tell the entire truth about our history, you lose out on the opportunity to gain power and to gain opportunities for marginalized individuals.
All right, we're taking a break here. Our phone lines are open. If you have noticed that there seems to be a lot of activity in the current administration targeting removal of Black history, removal of programs that would benefit the African American community, and things are happening to punish the African American community and businesses. Grants are being taken away to historic Black colleges. Things like that are happening. Talk about it. We have to talk about this. We can no longer be silent. And give us a call, 833-877-8255, 833-TPR-TALK, and we're going to be back in a minute.
Support for the Source podcast comes from UT Health San Antonio, South Texas' largest academic research institution, where what is discovered in its labs translates into life-changing patient care. More at uthealthsa.org.
Have a property past its prime? Consider donating it to Texas Public Radio. It's hassle-free, and you may qualify for a tax write-off, too. Learn more at tpr.careasy.org/real estate donation.
You're listening to The Source on Texas Public Radio. I'm David Martin Davies. A new report from the nonprofit research organization Onyx Impact titled Blackout, the real-world cost of erasing, distorting, and suppressing Black progress, documents a coordinated nationwide campaign to undermine the history, health, education, and economic opportunities of Black communities in America. Based on data collected in the first 8 months of 2025, the report identifies over 15,000 distinct incidents of harm, including the slashing of $3.4 billion in grants and research designated for Black communities, entrepreneurs, and historically Black colleges and universities. We're speaking with Cam Middlebrooks. He is the Deputy Director of Onyx Impact. To the point about let's talk about this. This needs to be talked about. This is something we can't let happen in silence. I think your report goes a long way in putting a name on something that is happening. And when we have a name on something, then we can recognize it when we see it. Was that the intention?
Yeah, that's definitely the intention, right? You got to name it. You have to expose it. You have to amplify it, right? If people don't know what the problems or the issues are, then there's no way that they can fight for the justice. Our goal right here is really to, number one, identify what has been taken away, what has been taken down, what has been removed, what has been cut. So we can, at the end of the day, it's not just about replenishing it, right? We also need to hold individuals accountable to that. And the first step is by identifying, naming it, and exposing it to the public. And then from there, right now we understand what has been disregarded, and then we can continue to fight not only to get it to reacclimate it or get it back into the record, but also to protect it in the future.
Let's go to a caller, 833-877-8255. And Juan, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. What I wanted to state was I'm very sympathetic with what is taking place with the African American community. But what must be understood is that this is taking place collectively against all minorities, women, Hispanics, African Americans, and we need to see it in its totality. if you take a look at what Hexas did with the top-ranking women, the former George Chief of Staff, a lot of these things that are going on is just this collective attempt at, as your guest indicates, a power grab, and it is all inclusive, and and we cannot allow that to take place because you are in effect erasing history.
Mm-hmm. Juan, thank you so much for your call. You are not wrong. This is happening to Latino institutions. We've seen also grants cut to Hispanic-serving colleges and universities, and so that is happening across the board. But so Cam Middlebrooks, do you want to respond to one?
Sure. Yeah, Juan, as you mentioned, man, you're right on point. You know, we know that the Trump administration's attack on our history, education, and economy is harming all Americans, regardless of background, regardless of zip code. Well, we also know that democracy flourishes when Black Americans advance in this nation, from birthright citizenship to anti-discrimination laws, from education to housing and employment opportunities. We know that when policies are born out of Black people's fight to fully participate in our democracy. So we lead with Black folks, but we understand and we know that this is an effort that affects much broader swaths of our community. But when we raise one tide, we lift them all.
Let's go to Paul on the phones. And Paul, thanks for calling in. You're on the air.
Yeah, I have a question for Ken concerning how he expects this, if at all, this report and this information as it gets out to affect or maybe even reverse recent trends in Black voting. I mean, I'm a white, older male, so I was surprised, as I think a lot of people were, understanding the disappointment that the Black community has reasonably had with the performance of all politicians, including Democrats. It's still surprising to see how Trump was able to increase and improve his performance among Blacks. Do you see this kind of information having the potential, realistically, to reverse that trend?
All right, Paul, thank you for that. Donald Trump famously on the campaign told African-American voters, vote for me. What do you got to lose? Now we know, right?
Yeah, now we know, right? This is what we have to lose, right? Trump did, gain a little bit more of the Black vote share than in previous elections. But what we've done now is we've exposed the truth of what this administration is really about. They're erasing our history in front of our faces. They're distorting our history in front of our faces, and they're suppressing any actors who are trying to combat that. Do I think this will change the trends of how Black folks vote? Definitely, possibly, right? We're giving folks much needed information about the tactics of this administration and what they're doing to seize and grab power away from working class Americans.
Well, what are we seeing in terms of how African-American households are doing today in America compared to where they were under the Biden administration?
Well, when you're talking, talk about the economy. One thing that we outlined in this report is 306,000 Black women have lost their jobs since February. That's a 6.7% unemployment rate, which is the highest Black unemployment rate since 2021, right? So like Black Americans, like many Americans right now, are struggling with this economy, and for good reason, right? This report is outlining some of the issues and some of the reasons why Blacks are struggling in particular. But once we identify and understand some of these reasons why, then we can act accordingly.
Some people have tried to describe what's happening as a culture war in America, but you framed this in the report as a power grab. Why that?
Well, it's not a culture war, right? That's the DEI stuff, right? That's the smokescreen of DEI. This is a power grab because when you delete the record and you defund the remedy, you're taking away the opportunity for individuals to fight for what they need to survive and thrive in America.
So how does the defunding of Black health research impact the overall health of the African-American community? It's a question that answers itself, but I'd love to hear what you got to say.
Well, it's life and death, right? When you defund when you defund sickle cell disease, when you defund Black maternal health, right? Let's talk about Black maternal health for a second, right?
Yeah, let's talk about it. Let's
slashed.
talk about it every day, please.
Yes, right. They've slashed $42 million in addressing this crisis. When we know Black women are 3.5 times more likely than white women to die giving childbirth, right? For the Black men out there, they slashed $37 million in Black men's cancer research, right? So you're talking about prostate and colon cancer. We know Black men are twice as more likely than white men to die from prostate cancer, and 40% more likely to die from colon cancer, right? This is life and death for many Americans out here. So when you're slashing the funding, you're removing the data, or you're deleting the data and defunding the care, you're jeopardizing Black lives.
The removal of enforcement from the EPA on industrial polluters, how does that, that's in the report. Talk about how that is something that harms Black communities.
Well, when I was a kid, I struggled with acute asthma, right? They've cut $31 million to address asthma. When you talk about flood prevention, $68.5 million cut from flood prevention in predominantly Black neighborhoods. Again, these are life or death measures that could affect the health, wealth, and growth of Black futures.
So what needs to happen in order to get this data? This is data. This is not opinion. Everything here is like this happened, this happened, this happened, and you have the receipts. So being able to break out of like public radio and places like that, how do you get this in front of the people who really need this information?
Yeah, well, we're encouraging everybody to visit either onyximpact.org to get to the website, to get to the data, or you can go directly to blackoutreport.org. The first step is we have to raise awareness about what's being lost. This is accurate and complete information. It's necessary to fight disinformation. And then we have to help Americans speak up and fight back. We encourage everyone to spot and report ongoing efforts to eliminate Black representation, manipulate stories of Black Americans, and intimidate civic institutions into taking part in the purge. Many of these acts of erasure have been reversed, at least temporarily, in response to public outcry. So if we continue to raise awareness and sound the alarm, we can retain some of this information. But we also have to lift up and strengthen organizations doing the work of preserving and sharing Black history and contributions. From reporters like yourself, David, who are getting the word out, to documentarians, other nonprofits and museums and other entities doing essential work to ensure that our nation's story is being told and being told in a full, truthful way. These efforts have never been more important than right now. Because as we mentioned earlier, Black history is American history, and Black progress is American progress. And if the American story deserves to be told in full.
Well, we still have a 14th Amendment. Do you feel like the courts are not going to give you the relief that you need?
I can't put all my faith in the courts, but I do put my faith in the people. When folks know the truth, and we expose that truth to them, and they raise the alarm, and they ring the alarm, that's how we can fight back.
So when people say DEI, what do you hear? What comes in your head, Cam?
When I hear DEI, when done in the right way, I hear access, right? It's about opportunities.
When you hear Donald Trump or J.D. Vance talk about DEI, what do you hear?
I hear a smokescreen. I hear Black people. I hear how can we seize power from marginalized folks who are already fighting for their stock in life.
I mean, why are we still on this? Man,
Yeah.
How long has this got to go on? Aren't you?
Well, we're only 1 year into this administration. We got 3 more to go, so it's going to be a long fight. But I know we have enough justice seekers that are ready to handle that battle.
Cam Middlebrooks, he's with the Onyx Impact Deputy Director. You can go online and read the report. It is shocking. Blackout, the cost of erasing Black progress and also removing opportunities. I want to thank you, Cam, for your work, and thanks for talking to us today.
David, thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate this conversation.
That's The Source on Texas Public Radio. Thank you for listening.
Support for this podcast of The Source comes from Texas Mutual Insurance Company, a workers' compensation provider committed to rewarding policyholders who keep their workers safe and losses low. More at texasmutual.com/TXM Advantage. Texas Mutual. Texans get it.